Okay, we've kind of run over by 10 minutes, but we're just coming to the close now. This is our last question. And we just thought, I won't zoom in on anybody, I'll just kind of leave the panel open as we do this. Just in maybe a sentence or two, what panel members now think should happen to the SCoPEd project? Okay, Jay, if we could come to you first.
In some, basically, instead of a top-down approach, I think there should be a bottom-up approach with members feeding ideas up. And I think it's fine to talk about standards, but in my view, not with reference to titles. As I've sort of said before, I think thinking about how to badge practitioners, yeah, fine, but by actual experience, pre and post qualification experience, and actual training and actual specialisms learned along the way. I just like to quote Polkinghorne. I haven't quoted anybody, but he talked way back in 1992 about two types of psychology. And the first psychology is the academic, and the second psychology is about practice. And he said therapists use previously effective actions as a guide for their future actions. Their clinical experiences are the source of their knowledge. And that, to me, is where I come from in relation to SCoPEd. I think it's experience of practitioners that's far more important than trainings or personal therapy or anything. Just experience, learning from each and every client. That's my view.
Okay, thank you. Rima?
I think what I said at the start is I'm in a reflective place, and I think it's important that we're all filtering in to feeding back about the project and what we're wanting. I'm wanting more clarification and one title, possibly. I don't know if the full implications of that, but one title and not a hierarchy system really. And but welcome clarity and welcome the aims of the project really. I'm not pro scrapping the whole thing, but I am pro sort of seeing this as a starting point and developing as we go along with a lot of our voices being heard within that.
Okay, thank you. Emma?
Well, the flippant thing would be to say to scrap it entirely. But I suppose for me, I'm not a member of any of these organisations, so I kind of feel quite impotent in being able to influence or put forward any alternatives. But I think, well, I have actually mocked up an alternative, but I think what needs to happen is much more in-depth consultation and not just go on the basis of the next iteration would be the final thing, but actually being able to, for these organisations to be open to the fact that maybe this framework isn't going to work and actually look at different models that could work.
I think that's really important. I mean, kind of not even feeling you're actually having a voice within that framework right now, you know. I think it definitely needs to be widened out to have more views. Andy, your view?
I don't suppose it'd be a surprise to anyone that I say that I don't really support it. But I mean, I think the membership body, I mean, this is kind of what they do, you know. This is so it's not surprising that they're doing it. But I think they should take a step back and one thing, stop trying to control the narrative around it and really celebrate the fact that people have different views on it, you know, and not be defensive about that, you know, just to really say, well, this is, you know, I mean, it's great really that we can be here and the way this allows us to sort of burrow down into what therapy actually is and what it really means to people, you know, through this kind of window of SCoPEd for all its flaws. There's a sort of value in it for that in a strange way. But it needs to be a listening. I mean, the sort of corporate consultation exercise is just no good, you know, because it doesn't really change anything, and it doesn't. The BACP and the others need to be able to celebrate and embrace the fact that people, like some of the panelists here, or all of us in different ways, have these serious, substantive concerns about the project. that's not something to be defensive about or prickly about. But it's something to sort of welcome, I would have thought, the sort of diversity of thought. And somehow therapy's got to grapple with the fact that people are working within the field, but work in very, very different ways, and see right down to what it means to be a person in the world very, very differently. And somehow it has to kind of encapsulate all this, and it seems to have wanted to escape that complexity, sort of iron it out and sort of deny it by imposing a kind of much more sort of reductionist structure, which I don't really think benefits the people who would, support it as a project. So, I just think they need to sort of find a way to, going back to what I said at the beginning, really, to sort of this special thing that we do, to protect it, to take it forward, and not to be frightened of difference, of thought or any other differences, rather than trying to force this kind of complex ecology, which we all sort of occupy different parts of, into a politically kind of expedient shape, which happens to suit the agenda of NHS or service commissioners. It's kind of back to the roots, which is kind of what Jay was saying, bottom up.
That's great. Thank you for that. And finally, Erin, what are your thoughts? I think I know what your answer is going to be.
Well, I mean, I just think we have to go back and look at the research, because I think there was a number of issues with the research. I think before any research was carried out, there really should have been a really thorough kind of assessment of what the potential harms are. I think that was really missing. And I focus in on diversity there, and there really should have been a kind of review of what the impact of such a project would have on diversity in the profession. And that hasn't happened prior to the research, which I really think it should have. I think there are potential conflicts of interest in terms of the fact that, whether coincidentally, I'm sure, but certain trainings are privileged, and some of those trainings are connected to the organisations that were involved in mapping the project. And just from a kind of purely ethical research basis, that's probably something that should have been kind of declared and mitigated at the outset. And I just think there should have been full consultation prior to research, because the research is already done at the end of the day. So any changes to the framework at this point are still going to be rooted in the research, and it's the research that's really where the root of the problem is. So my answer, again, not surprisingly, is I think that this project needs to be scrapped, and I think we need to go right back to the beginning. We need to look at and really, really clearly define what the problem is, because I don't think that's been defined. And until the problem's defined, I don't see how you can start to solve it. So I think we need to kind of, the whole profession, not just the membership bodies, in fact, but, all kinds of different interested parties really need to get together and figure out what the problem is that we're trying to solve here, and how we can go about it in a way that isn't harmful, that's respectful of different modalities. And it's just fair, because I think that's what's missing. So yeah, scrap SCoPEd is my answer.
Thanks, Erin. Well, that brings us kind of to the end of our panel discussion. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I've got a lot to think about in all of those discussions that we've had today. I just really want to thank everybody on the panel, because I really appreciate you giving up your time to kind of come and discuss these issues. And I know it's not difficult actually in this climate to kind of come and share some of these views. So really appreciate that. And thank you everybody for watching. I think we've had hundreds of people kind of watching us live today, which is absolutely fantastic on a Monday afternoon. And obviously we will have this recorded, and people can watch it afterwards if they haven't been able to come today. Thank you, Kaz, for co-hosting with me. Do you want to do the final sign off?
I will, yes. Thank you to Peter. It's always a pleasure. And just thank you so much to the panel. Really, really appreciate you being here. This has just felt like a great discussion. And like Peter said, it's actually not easy to come along and talk about a subject like this. out in the public ether. So yeah, just really so much thanks. Yeah, as Peter said, the discussion has been recorded, so you'll find that on the YouTube channel. It will definitely be there. We're not sure if it will be there straight away, but it will definitely be there from tomorrow. And then for more articles and opinions on SCoPEd, you can also access our website, www.therapists-connect.com. Or follow us on Twitter, and please also follow our panel members as well on my own Twitter account. I've put all of their Twitter handles, and I've put Emma's Facebook account. She has a Facebook page and she's not on Twitter. So yeah, feel free to follow us. We're going to be holding, this is just the first debate, we're going to be holding more debates, and the next one is going to be over the next coming weeks under the banner of Trainee Talk, #Trainee Talk. People on Twitter will know that this is our regular student discussion that we have. So we're going to be focusing on the issues that students are raising with regards to the SCoPEd project. And if you're a student and you want to actually take part in that, then please contact myself or Peter or the Therapists Connect social media account for more information. And I just want to say, everyone who's watching, thank you for watching. Yeah, really take some time to let all of this sink down. And please also just take care, because there is a lot going on. You know, there is a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of different emotion. I, for one, think it's really important, and I know Peter agrees, I'm sure the panelists do as well, that we all get involved, we engage in whatever way we can. That's going to look different for different people. But also know when to self-care, know when to step back, and just, yeah, please look after yourselves.
Can I just say thank you, Kaz and Peter as well, because you've done absolutely brilliant job of facilitating today. So thank you for giving up your time and for organising all of this.
Thank you so much, Erin. Appreciate it. Yeah, so our accounts are open, Therapists Connect accounts, if anyone wants to contact us about anything. Other than that, yeah, we'll all say goodbye. I'm going to say, say goodbye to your panel, and we'll end it there.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.